All right, Larry Krueger down here in Santa Clara with a little 49er video brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon, say hi to Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. All right, let's talk a little bit about Mike Silver. Mike Silver is one of my favorite Niner media guys. Why? Because he's smart, he's credible, he's ballsy, he'll take chances. He's been covering the team for years. He's got sources. He doesn't speak out of turn. You can take what Mike says to the bank. Last year, he wrote a deal about Trey Lance having arm fatigue, and a lot of people, myself included, Mike, I apologize, pushed back and said, arm fatigue? Come on. What are you talking about, Mike? And sure enough, it came out in time that Trey Lance indeed suffered from arm fatigue. And so I probably owe Mike an apology, and many others do as well. But it's just an example that Silver is on it. And, the guy's worked for the NFL Network. Heck, he used to work with my brother at the Daily Cal going way, way back. But I'm a Silverhead, and we're going to get him on the show here in the next few weeks because he's outstanding. And I don't want to do too much sucking up of Mike Silver, but he wrote an article about Trey Lance and the four quarterbacks, Brandon Allen, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and this pending decision that's coming up on August 29th when all teams in the NFL have to pare their rosters from 90 down to 53. Remember, this year is the first year that there's only one cut. So it doesn't go from 90 to 75 and then 75 to 53. It goes from 90 down to 53 on August 29th. So that's going to be a huge day. It's going to be a sad day for a lot of guys around the NFL, but it's going to be absolutely a pivotal day for this franchise because the 49ers have four quarterbacks on their roster. And despite what you may hear and what people might say, it's virtually impossible on a 53-man roster to keep four quarterbacks. So somebody's going to have to go. Now, let's go through it. Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback here right now. He's your number one guy. Sam Darnold was signed on the first day of free agency. Kyle Shanahan has talked about Steve Young's late development when talking about Darnold. And, if you're being compared to Steve Young, you're here as well. So whether Sam Darnold winds up being the number 2 or the number 3 quarterback, Sam Darnold is here. So what are we really talking about? We're talking about Brandon Allen and Trey Lance. Potentially, one of those guys is not going to be a 49er this year. Now, people say, oh, well, put Brandon Allen on the practice squad. That ain't happening, folks. I'll say that straight out. If Brandon Allen is married, last year he made $1 million. He's going to make $207,000 to be on the Niner practice squad. So you're telling me he's going to take an $800,000 pay cut just to be the Niners insurance policy on the practice squad? I love the Niners. You love the Niners. And that ain't happening. Go tell your wife you're taking a 80% pay cut and see how she reacts. So I don't think there's any chance in hell that Brandon Allen is going to wind up on the practice squad. Brandon Allen is either going to be the third quarterback. The Niners signed him to $1 million, $80,000 contract. So if he makes the team, he makes $1,080,000. That is right in line with what NFL teams are paying their third string quarterbacks. So, and if you look at Brandon Allen's career, he's had 9 starts. He's 2-7. He was Joe Burrow's backup the last 2 years in Cincinnati. So Brandon Allen, I think, is either going to be the Niners' third-string quarterback and Trey Lance is going somewhere else, or Brandon Allen will be cut at the deadline and some other team will pick him up and make him their second or third-string quarterback. He'll make somewhere between the league minimum of $750,000 to about $1 million, and no harm, no foul. He'll make basically what he made last year somewhere else. The idea that the Niners can have all four of these guys and Brandon Allen as an insurance policy on the practice squad makes no sense. And I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked if it happens. So let's go through the Silver piece, because he said basically the same thing I just said, which is that Trey Lance may be battling Brandon Allen for that number 3 quarterback job. Now, the way Trey Lance has played, to my eyes, I think Trey Lance is going to be the number 2 and that Sam Darnold is going to be the number 3. But we'll see. The question is, do the 49ers, and this is the ultimate question for the Niners, do they see enough development and improvement in Trey Lance to keep him as the number 3 quarterback, despite the fact he's going to make $9 million and the average going rate of a third-string quarterback in the NFL is $1 million? Or do they trade Trey Lance, roll some of that money savings into all the stars they need to pay in 2024, of which there are many, and have Brandon Allen slot in behind Purdy and Darnold as the number 3 quarterback? That makes the most financial sense, but it may not make the most football sense. Now, Silver asks the question, will Lance be on the 53-man roster on August 29th when teams cut from 90 to 53? He says Shanahan ultimately should do what he wants to do and not look back. That, as we all know, there's going to be an awful lot of heat. There's going to be a lot of criticism of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch if they move on from Trey Lance. Now, he actually broaches the topic of cutting Trey Lance, which also has a punitive cap hit in and of itself. So I cannot see a world where the 49ers cut Trey Lance. I just don't see it. He's too talented. I think there's too many teams that would like to have a player like this, even at $9 million. So even though he floats that in this article as a potential option, I do not see cutting Trey Lance as a viable option at all. And there will be a lot of criticism if they trade him, but there'll be an enormous amount of criticism if they cut him. Silver's saying, hey, Shanahan, you're the guy. It's your call. Everybody knows you've got job security. Take the 3 guys that you want, take the heat from the public, and just move on. Okay, I hear what he's saying there. But to me, if you trade him and you get something back, that's one thing. If you cut him, I think that brings on an awful lot of criticism. Now, Mike is also saying the 49ers, according to his sources, were offered a 5th-round draft choice this offseason for Lance. What if Lance plays well in the preseason? Because he's played well in practice at times. He's still missing some of the short throws, but he's really played well in these training camp practices in the last week. Let's just say Trey plays well in the preseason, and somebody knocks on your door and says, you know what, we'll give you a 3rd-round pick for Trey Lance. Would the Niners rather have a 3rd-round pick for Trey Lance and have a better cap situation and kind of reconfirm to Purdy and to Darnold and have Brandon Allen as their 3rd? Or are they still dreaming the Trey Lance dream, and they still have belief that he's going to get there and it's just taking time, and they say, you know what, no, we won't take a 3rd-round pick? That's really the question. Mike is suggesting, man, what if Trey plays well in the joint practices against the Raiders in Las Vegas? What if he plays well in the preseason? What if his value goes up? What if a team offers a high pick? Will the Niners, pull the trigger on a trade? He's asking that question. Interestingly enough, unrelated to this article, Adam Schefter told Pat McAfee yesterday on ESPN that Trey's looking good. And now, I know that because I'm here watching it. Schefter doesn't know that, but I'm kind of wondering where he got that information. And is he being kind of spun to inflate Trey Lance's trade value, or is he just reporting what the rest of us are seeing, which is that Trey Lance is looking pretty good out here? Just the fact that Schefter was talking about it on ESPN and the critical thinker that I am makes me think that possibly Schefter could be, the Niners could be utilizing Schefter to kind of build Trey's trade value. Or Schefter could just be repeating what is the rest of us are seeing as facts, which is that Trey is improving. And there's no doubt he is improving. He throws a better ball. After practice the other day when he missed Deebo Samuel on a short pass that he's got to complete, I would call a layup pass in the NFL, he stayed after practice and threw that exact same pass about 6 or 7 times. So to me, that tells me that he's a young guy who's intent on getting better. I really believe that the Niners have 2 franchise quarterbacks, Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. But that Brock's ready to play now and should start week 1 in Pittsburgh, and that Trey is still a ways off. The question, and the ultimate question is, I think the Niners are smart. I think they see what I see. I think they see that Trey's got franchise quarterback potential still, despite what's happened in the first couple of years. The question is, will they prioritize staying the course with Trey, seeing this through to completion, even if it costs them a lot of money on the cap, or are they going to take a draft pick or whatever they can get, a player and a pick, get down the road, recommit to Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen? That to me is the big question, and it's one of the biggest questions in the NFL. Now, as I said, Silver is suggesting the Niners may cut Lance. I find that really hard to believe. Shanahan says that the Niners could keep all 4 quarterbacks on the final 53, at least initially. Do they try to keep 4 quarterbacks, at the cut down and then work some deal afterwards? It's almost like a game of chicken that these teams are playing with each other. Are you going to cut this guy? Should I trade for him? There could be some games there. Bottom line on this, folks, this is one of the biggest stories in the NFL. We're watching it every day unfold before our eyes. It is not settled. There's a lot of camp left to happen. Brock could regress. There could be an injury. Trey could play spectacularly in these preseason games, and there could be a burgeoning market for him. We got a month to go and 3 preseason games before we get to August 29th. And all I got to say is stay tuned. It's one of the biggest stories in the NFL, and we're right here covering it. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube. Practice starts in about an hour. I'll be out there, and we'll report back at the end of the day what we see. Have a great day, everybody. Beautiful day here in Santa Clara. Time to get it. Go Niners.